In today's Technology Workbench series, we're going to overview building virtual field constructs with advanced data virtualization. Qplex is a data integration and data management company, and our core platform is built upon advanced data virtualization technology, a unique technology that enables our customers to do things that they could not do with any other technology. One of the important cornerstones of advanced data virtualization is the virtual field. Today we're going to share an overview of virtual fields, show how to construct them, show the benefit of using them, and the leverage and return on investment that they can provide for our customers. The first thing about advanced data virtualization, unlike the world of ETL where everything is point-to-point connectivity, we have a hub and spoke, a persistent metadata server that can connect to anything that you see here, any source, through an API. It can be a custom app with relational database underneath. It could be an object application in the cloud or some of the new NoSQL apps. And when it connects to them, it converts all of the information into a metadata view at the business object level. So relational databases look like object databases, look like NoSQL databases. The fields are exposed, and now they're manipulated easily as business objects in our dashboard. This is key. We obfuscate away all of the complexity of programming and put the power in the hands of a business analyst that can now do useful things with our technology. So what is a virtual field? Why do you care about it? How does it work? And what can you do with it? A virtual field is a virtual construct. We're going to show you how this works. We're going to show you the product, right? But it's something that you can see. It's something that you can touch. It's something that you can use, but it doesn't exist in the source system in which it appears. So the simplest way to represent this is to consider a table of data where we've created a new column, and you can see it. You can see the calculations that populate it, whether they're expressions or concatenations or just the entry of new data. It might be put a 1 in every one of these fields in every row. Yet it doesn't exist in the source system. Not only that, but you can drill down below the metadata into the data catalog in that source system, and you're looking at all the original source elements. And when you get to the virtual field, you're seeing data there too. Except the data does not exist in that system. It exists as a construct in our system, calculated by the transforms in the virtual field. They can be business rules combined with calculations, can be simple attribute normalization, such as in this column that's in the source data, my date is September 22nd, 1976. But now I've got another column, a virtual field, where I've done an attribute normalization and changed it to 9.22.1976 because I want to take that normalized attribute and move it someplace else or do something else with it. There's a lot to talk about here, but this is a very powerful capability. Most powerful over legacy technologies like old EII or old data virtualization technologies, in that you can see everything as it is constructed and as the data would exist in the future before it's moved, but you can see all of it without moving the data or doing anything. It's a huge advantage and a big sea change. So now I can drill into my data catalog in our system and I can see the new data in this field as if it was there, but the data isn't there. So if it doesn't exist in the source and the data hasn't moved, how can we do this? And what else can we do with this virtual field? So here's our dash. And first step here, under the left-hand column, you see Application Software Blades is connecting to a virtualized source. We can connect to dozens to hundreds of sources. Many times corporations have dozens and dozens of custom relational apps where they have tables and tables of data. And we connect to that source with permission. It could be an API to SAP. It could be NetSuite. It doesn't really matter. It could be EDI formats or custom formats or special data in your own proprietary format. And we connect to it through security permissions, and we securely expose it in our data dictionary. Here we've exposed, in this case, Salesforce and NetSuite, and we show you the standard security permissions by which that were accomplished. However, if you have complex or special security permissions, we can accommodate that in our dashboard and do what you need to do to support your security model. Now, We're in a new section called Data Dictionary, and Data Dictionary is about exposing the metadata, exposing the data, giving you tools to do compare functions, and bridging that into every kind of data integration function you would imagine, from point connectivity to business intelligence to data warehousing to virtual or regular master data management or any combination of the above. So unlike disparate products you'll find from other vendors, this is core and central to our integration platform. So the first thing you see when you've clicked on NetSuite now is you see the objects, which are table-like equivalents in the object architecture of NetSuite. You see account, you see accounting period. Also note there's a label field which you can change and modify for reasons of adding semantics or structure that you can use later. So imagine if you had 200 databases in our system, there may be fields that you'll want to augment with additional information in the label field for your personal view as you sift through these sources. And that view can be apportioned to a user, to a group, or to an enterprise pursuant to security permissions. So you can start to add a lot of data to your data in this data dictionary. So label field is your first field in that basic data dictionary, and that's as far as we'll go today, but it's a powerful capability. So now here we are, we've exposed all the metadata, these objects or table equivalents, and now I click on account. And what I see, now I see the fields inside, let's call it a table, that table. I see a field called first, an account designator, an account name. You can see them all down here. And these are all the fields and their characteristics. And you'll notice two of them have a box here. It says virtual. Those fields do not exist in NetSuite. They are augmented virtual constructs that we have put in our system to support the missions of our customers, but they do not exist in NetSuite. They look like they do, they act like they do, and they'll enable you to visualize data as if they do, but they are not in the NetSuite system. They do not affect the processing of the NetSuite application in any way whatsoever. That's why they're called virtual constructs. Now, the process to create a virtual field is very simple. Inside a table entity or object equivalent, you click on virtual fields, you give it a name, and you describe how you're going to build it. You can build it out of regular expressions, which are Microsoft Excel-like. These can support business rules or normalizations or syntax changes or calculations, or you can use it to simply populate specific data elements. I want to create this field virtually, and I want to set it to a value of 22 in all of my rows. So there's a lot of things you can do. Now I've left the metadata construct section of the data dictionary. Now I'm in the data. The data is the data catalog, and what that means is that you can now drill into any of the sources you're connected to and immediately look at the data. There's no transformation to a BI domain. You are on top of the data, immediately able to transverse it and see what's in that system. And the format that you view down there where it says data catalog here is up to you. You can morph that and change that format with some simple commands to make that view most useful to you. So here we're in the account object or account table equivalent. We knew what fields there were, and now we're exposing actual data elements. And you can see if we drill down, here is one of those elements, and we can see the individual values for a record for financial viability, account type, internal ID, inventory, right? And if you looked back, look at account designator, first, and financial viability. Account designator, first, and financial viability are virtual fields. They don't exist in NetSuite, but they exist here. They are calculated or created for many different purposes. So that's what we're doing with them in the system, and now I'll talk about the purposes and benefits. So let's think about what we did. First thing we did was we automatically exposed the metadata. Now this view kind of maps to your object or your table, but in our system we stack them vertically. We stack them horizontally only when it's time to look at the data as you drill into the data catalog. So this is the metadata, the fields, and the actual names they have. And if you recall, you also had the ability to set a label. Okay, so that's sort of step one. Step two is you can drill into the data in the catalog. So this is just basic virtualization capability. You're getting into sources with security permissions, you're visualizing the metadata, you're seeing the data. That's not new and exciting yet. Now we've added a virtual field. In this example, I've used other data inside of NetSuite to calculate a field and placing it inside this object or table. I've called it 2011 orders to date, and I've calculated it. So when you look inside the virtual field in our system, you see the formula I did to calculate this. I pointed some other fields and I run a calculation. Then when you look at the underlying data, and this is the most amazing thing, you look at the data catalog and you construct the view to show this, you see the calculated amount at that instant based upon the rules right then and there. But it doesn't exist. Very, very powerful. Now, what can you do with a virtual field? I think the gears are spinning. I think you can see right away. Well, one thing I could do is I could take this view, or I could take that one column and export it to something else. I can take multiple columns from multiple sources in our system, multiple databases, some of them actual columns of data, some of them virtual field columns of data, and combine them from 2, 3, 4, 5 sources to build what we call a globalized entity or a virtual table. And that virtual table can then be repurposed to a data warehouse or used for something else. That is the topic, by the way, of our next Technology Workbench series, globalization. So if you want to know more about that, follow the series. So now I have this virtual field. What else could I do with it? Well, every transform in our system is designed to be auditable and easy to see. So if I have to take this data set and I have to take a record of truth, for instance, I had a date and I had to transform it and move it to another system. If the other system has a syntax September 22, 1976, and my syntax in this table is 9.22.1976, I have to transform it. So I create a virtual column next to my date field, and I transform it so I can see that it's right, and then when it's right, I can use data harmonization to move it over. So virtual fields have the benefit of letting you see in an open and auditable and white box way everything that's happening in the system. They let you see the constructs for the data transformation, and then when it's good, you can move it. Now consider how you work with legacy systems. You might have one view for a business user, another view for a programmer, and there's so much time spent in BI with analysts and building the data warehouse between this is the view I want to see, you build it, and then the user says that's not really the view I want. Now you've got a short circuit for IT and the business user or the business analyst or the intelligence analyst to sit down at the workbench and get their hands right on the data. So it's a short circuit to productivity, it's a short circuit to accuracy, and it's a short circuit to return on investment. Virtual field benefits are numerous. Transforms are visible, changes to data are visible, nothing has changed, but when it's right, you're ready to move it or invoke the harmonizations to use it, to move it to a warehouse, or to move it into BI. It is a big step beyond simple federation and simple mashups. It is a giant step beyond the baseline capability of the old EII systems and the 10-year-old data virtualization technologies that are out there. The power of advanced data virtualization is beyond that in any other technology or any other integration platform, and virtual fields now enable you to do things you've never been able to do before. Check our next series on globalization and how to do joins using virtual entities and learn more about how this technology can work for you. Contact us at sales@cuplix.com to find out more.